Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. The question of the day: what would you do if you found you were sleeping with the enemy? That was your wife, your husband, or your boyfriend, girlfriend. You were sleeping with the enemy. Would you die? Would you live? Would you get bitter, or would you take it as a lesson learned? That is the question. You see, we have so many people in these positions. They trust people with everything that they heart. And, I'm not a person that doesn't believe that you can trust. I just believe that, yes, we trust the wrong people, but it's a lesson. I don't think that the lesson goes undone as a misfortune unless we react or respond a way that is to determine misfortune, because at the end of the day, the enemy cannot win if we use the situation in a fortunate pretense. When you're sleeping with the enemy and they have taken a stand to do things the way that they like to do them without any regard of a commitment to you, one thing you have to determine is that that person has no commitment to you after they've crossed lines and barriers and boundaries that says they have no respect or liking to continue a commitment with you or to actually hold up a commitment with you. Now, I know a lot of people that are in committed relationships, but there could be one that's not committed. And that's when the enemy resides or lifts his head up and you are able to see them, because before you loved them and some of the things that you were doing together was good. And little by little, over time, they began to show things. They couldn't keep the mask up or the masquerade, where they were living one life and over here living another life. And so now you've seen the enemy. And my question would be, how will you respond? Because so many people respond with negative outlooks. And, you're going to go through some hurt and some pain. But, my advice would be, look at yourself and what you have brought into the relationship. And whatever good you find that you brought, document it. Even compliment yourself. Because in most cases, when you've been sleeping with the enemy and the enemy actually reveals itself to you, it can knock you off your feet. The thing is for you to get back up and be able to have some ground to stand. And your ground to stand is not in just the fact that you love them, which is a good thing. A lot of people will let that slip away because they focus on what has been revealed to them. Focus on the love and the sincerity, because, see, that's a pat on the back that you need to give yourself. You were sincere. You were not deceptive. You were not manipulative. You see, in the game of life, what happens is that there are forces that are looking out for us. Now, I'm not saying this to people that have went back and forth and even dealt this type of way. I'm saying that if you loved and you were loving sincerely and you kept the pace of good, understand that rewards are coming your way. Many people, again, they look at what's happened to them. They focus on the distraction. They focus on the enemy rather than looking at what they honestly brought to the table. When you look at what you brought to the table and you look at what your enemy brought to the table, then you can know that your harvest and what you sow will be a just due of goodness. And that's the main thing, because a lot of people don't focus on why we're here in this world. They focus on the relationship. The relationship is fine to focus on, but when you find that you've been sleeping with the enemy, you got to take another look at things. You got to refocus. You got to, redo, because you can't fight the enemy with love. Now, you can keep giving them love, but you can't fight them. You can't even make them love you, because they're the enemy. It's a darkness. It's a force that came up against you, really, to teach you something, and you to teach them. That's why, as you are sitting at the table and they are, it's like a game of chess. Who will win? Only the master. The one that has mastery over their emotions and over their mind will win. Sometimes the enemy has reared his head because it wanted to take you out, right? You got to think like this, even when it's the person you've been sleeping with. Why would you think like that? Because why would the enemy come at you? And the Bible tells us that it would be our own kinsmen. It would be our own loved ones, the ones of our household. Jesus says it in Matthew. When you master that love for that enemy, then you'll be able to go on and go to higher levels and leave that enemy behind. The key is not to become emotionally unstable by what has been done, because it's an illusion. It won't last forever. It really won't. And you have a time to assess what's happening and the reality that you choose. Oftentimes people choose the reality of the enemy because the enemy is like Satan. It looks good. It feels good. It tastes good. Everything is good, but have you looked at the inside, right? And so when you start looking at the inside, what you're doing is really looking at what the person is saying, because they reveal themselves by the way that they treat others. People cannot treat others bad and not treat you bad. You say, when the mouse is away, when the cat is away, the mouse will play. And this is not always just in that person having other relationships. Play in some way. Because your enemy might be so dark that it looks strong outside, but it's not. It's weak. That's why it's an enemy. And it looks strong, but it's weak because it's damaged. Maybe from childhood, who knows, or other people's damage, right? And so you have been a stability to your enemy. In your house, you kept everything together, right? And you looked at yourself like you weren't doing enough because they may have been doing some things outside great, but they were empty. Remind yourself they're empty. And so you were the stability for this person or these people, however it goes for you. And you started looking at them rather than looking at yourself. This is where you take your power back. Master the game of life. Look at them for who they are and what they're worth. And it's not that you don't love them anymore, but you put boundaries up. You let them know. You always knew who they were, really. And you did. You just allowed them to continue on with their game, hoping that they would change and become that loving person, or accept that they could be lovable. And they decided not to. So they stayed in the game to be the enemy. And now you have the chance to master them or the situation, or they will master you. See, when they get a hold to your emotions, that's where the mastery is. And you know what eats a person up that can't master you, your enemy, is when they can't get a reaction from you. Not even if they've taken everything away from you, if they pushed you away from everything that you all had together, if you created a life together. What makes them so angry is when you don't react or respond. Why should you? You love, but now remember, if you love them, you have to love yourself. That means take the focus off of your enemy, because he only seeks those who will pay attention. Let the enemy, she or he, seek someone else to prey on. And, this is a lot like narcissistic behavior, because Your enemy is always taking from you. Yeah, it needs what you have. You gotta be aware that if the enemy comes, then that means you have something of value. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever slept with the enemy, realize your value and how great you are. Because they wouldn't have put time into you, not an enemy, if you were not. Enemies are empty. That's why they're dark inside. They look good. So that means that if someone is in love or, infatuated with something that looks like something, then they'll still be caught up in the lesson. But if you are wise and you see what's happening, you pull back your supply because they were with you because you had a value. They needed something from you. If it was sex, if it was money, if it was a foundation of stability that you gave them something. If it was spiritual, you gave them something. You got to think about it, because a lot of times we're giving to people and we don't know how valuable we have been, because number one, they may have been bringing in material things. But listen, material does not last. And I'm not saying not to be grateful. I've been grateful for everything that I've had in my life, but I had to take a look, because if I'm really, founded on spirituality, then I know that my spiritual foundation comes first, and then my manifestations of, material gain and wealth can come. And the most important thing is knowing if you were the one that brought them that energy and strength to be able to materialize. Because see, you could have been someone that was, actually funding them. You could have been someone that helped them to see their self and their worth when they had nothing. And they grew on what you gave them, because, you could have had that stability that they needed. Listen, if they want to go to the table and they want to play chess, listen, I'm smiling. Play like a player. All right? Don't let the player play you. Be a master at whatever you do. Master your emotions and master your enemy. You guys have a wonderful day and be blessed. Go to www.wealthyliving.org. We do personal development sessions. We also do the classes so you can become certified. There's more there, and we have a host of classes that we do. We also do prayer on Saturdays and Sundays. This Saturday won't be, but tomorrow we will be. And Wednesday night sessions, those are free. We take donations because we help people in the communities that are, struggling in need of food and their children, diapers and things like that. So you guys have a wonderful day, and remember that you're supported. If you need any kind of personal development classes, even direction with your career at this time. So thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day again.